Okay. All
We're
right,
we're
thanks, Hannah.
recording. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here. And it's, taken a bit of time in what sounds like a very busy time for you all. My name's Yana Darnbull, Uncle Jade. You can call me Yana. And also, we've got a couple of other Wiradjuri elders and knowledge holders in the meeting with us today, which is Auntie Leanna Wirraby, and we've got Uncle Jonathan Jones and little Billa as well, little Ray in the room as well. So we're just going to talk about Yinjamara and cultural safety, and then hopefully Auntie will do a digital welcome to country or welcome to the space together. Um, so we're part of Auntie Leanna and myself are part of Wiradjuri Traditional Owners Central West Aboriginal Corporation, and we're a group of mostly Wiradjuri people here in the Bathurst region of Wiradjuri country, and we've got apical ancestors that were here way back 237 years, was it not? Ago, when the British first came over the Blue Mountains and started to take up and occupy massive parcels and swathes of Wiradjuri country, and they've been here ever since. But we've been here as well, and that was a very tumultuous time for Wiradjuri people, and we do talk about that a fair bit in some of the sessions that we do, and what that looks like today for not only Wiradjuri people but other Aboriginal people across New South Wales and across Australia. So the impacts of colonisation are ongoing, and some would even say, and I would agree that they're sustained as well. So it is something that impacts all Aboriginal people wherever they are from, and it's important that there's an opportunity for truth telling in activities like what we're doing today. So we're very grateful for the opportunity to be able to yarn. Um, Before we go too much further, though, I just want to make sure that we're giving a fair warning, just a cultural warning for some of the content that we may be talking about and sharing. Um, just want to make sure that especially other First Nations mob that are in the room are aware that we may be talking about or show images or voice or video recordings of people who have passed away, First Nations people that have passed away. And if you do find that distressing, which it can be for some mob, we want to give you the opportunity to, take a short break, take some time away from the screen. If you do need to do that, it is okay. Just make sure you let one of the facilitators know, one of the staff for the Centre for Law and Justice know, or one of us elders in the chat if you're going to do that, just so that we can keep an eye on you, keep you culturally safe, and just look after you while you're in the session today. Cultural safety is really, really important to us. So before I ask, before Auntie, if she'd like to do a welcome, we will just talk a little bit about cultural safety and also about Yinjamara. And Yinjamara is probably the most important aspect of the ancient teachings of Wiradjuri. That's the knowledge of Yinjamara and the five principles of Yinjamara have been passed down over generations, over thousands of years, and we still hold that knowledge in our community today. So we'll talk about that as well. But first, cultural safety. So we expect, and you should expect of us, that we will sit inside of a culturally safe space together. And we've got a definition there on the left of the screen that we've utilized for some time. This definition of cultural safety came about from some consultation work that was actually done by an elder who's now passed, Uncle Brian Grant, or Mulyan. He did some community work in the health sector out in some rural and remote regions, and he did some survey work to find out what those communities thought cultural safety should look like. And this is what came back from predominantly women that were interviewed as part of that process. So, cultural safety is an environment which is spiritually, socially, and emotionally safe, as well as physically safe for everyone, where there's no assault, challenge, or denial of your identity. And for us, it's about shared respect, shared meaning, shared knowledge, and the experience of learning together with dignity and truly listening. For us, it's also about sharing our stories, being heard, sharing our truth about generational trauma, and the impact of carrying that burden. And it's about sharing difficult experiences and the pain that comes from all this and how this all translates into truth telling. It's also about being in a space where we can be open, honest, uncomfortable, and vulnerable together about our shared history. Auntie, did you want to speak to Yinjimarra and welcome everyone to the space, please, today?
Yeah. Noreen Marang. Good morning, all. I've put it in the chat there, the meaning of Yinjimarra, just so that as we go through today's session, we have those Yinjimarra in the back of our mind. Yinjimarra for us is a part of our Buye, which is our law, and it has 5 cultural principles. And those principles all sit together, like they can't be separated. They actually are a part of our, they're written into our stories, into our dreaming and creation stories. And it's not just a word to Wiradjuri, it's actually a way of life. So today what we're going to, Uncle Bill's not here, he's an apology, but on behalf of the Wiradjuri elders, I'd like to welcome everybody into this space, and we've already set up the cultural safety, framework that we work with and to, and I think that today for us, just a little bit of a backstory to how this all came about. We've been involved in this program for over 10 years. I can't even remember now exactly when we got involved, but what happened was we came in as guest lecturers, and there was students who actually came into the space who wanted to hear more from elders and from knowledge holders. And so we decided with previous directors and staff that, we could do this better. And we actually wrote the program. I did. I sat down with different staff members in the Centre for Law and Justice, and over the years it's just gotten better. Just for all the newcomers and the people that are new into this space, we're the only university in the Southern Hemisphere that actually do this, where law and justice staff work together with traditional elders and knowledge holders. And we've won. Back in 2021, we won an international award for this work. So we don't really, like talking about all that stuff. That's not why we do it. We're here to educate and make sure that, practitioners, when they go out into community, have at least an understanding about First Nations people. But in the chat, some people have already put it in. Introduce yourself. Tell us which land you're coming from. And I won't talk for too much longer, but this afternoon session from 12 to 1, you're welcome to come back into that. We encourage everyone to come in there because that's the opportunity for you to ask us questions about anything. And hopefully we can answer it. But welcome, everybody. We look forward to listening to the guest speakers, and we look forward to contributing to these conversations today too. So, Mandangul.
Thanks, Auntie. I'll just check if Uncle Jono wanted to say anything before we pass it back over to the team. Uncle Jono, shaking his head, is he?
No, we're good. We're good.
Oh, we're good? Yeah, no worries. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, there'll be a little bit of coming and going just from my part today, so I just apologise in advance for that. But we really look forward to the 12 o'clock session with you. Hopefully you can all make it. It's really, about access to us as knowledge holders and elders. And it's about, still being in that culturally safe space where you can just ask those questions that you maybe would be a little uncomfortable in asking outside of this safe space with us. So, no matter how controversial or out there you think the questions might be, that is the space to ask those questions later on today. So over to you, Hayley. Thank you.
Mandangu, Werribee and Yana, it is such a privilege to have access, as you say, to you guys to really, but beyond access, just to be in what is a safe space and have the opportunity to ask questions that, sometimes we hesitate in asking. So thank you for making yourselves available, especially on a Saturday morning. I'll now hand over to our Centre for Law Director, Dwayne Aslett. Thank you.
Thanks, Hayley. Good day, everybody. I'm sitting in Ngunnawal country today. As you might hear, I'm not from Australia. I've been here now just over 2 years. So I also find myself in these sessions learning a lot. I must confess, you only know things as a foreigner that you read or hear about here and there, being so far away from Australia, in South Africa. But hailing from South Africa, there are very similar conditions in Africa, of course. So it's not totally new in terms of understanding the history, etc. So just from my side, and just also in the role of director, I've been just over a year now. From my side, I want to thank Auntie Liana and Uncle Liana. It's always great to meet up with them in these sessions. And as they've already indicated, we strive in our Bachelor of Laws degree to have the cultural content embedded and not have it a tick and flick, one subject, but really have it embedded within the LLB program all the way through. And many of you may not know, Mark Nolan was my predecessor for many years and did a great job with that as well, while he was in this role. I want to say thank you to Hayley for the hard work of organizing the session today, the plenary session, and the speakers, etc. And I think all of you will agree that it's great to actually meet together as a student body. I know maybe not everybody's here, but you don't get the opportunity often to see the other students in the program other than what's in your subject. So you can flick through the attendees and have a look, the students in other subjects, etc., that are also in this plenary session. So this is one of the sessions where all the students in the LLB program have the opportunity to get together and listen to guest speakers, some of them being alumni. So they were in your position maybe a couple of years ago, sitting in these sessions as well. So don't want to take up too much of the time. So just to say welcome to everybody. Thank you, as Hayley said, for making available your time on a Saturday. And I hope that you all find today's session fruitful and wish you luck further in your studies going forward. Thank you, Hayley.
Thanks, Dwayne. Now, because we are just slightly ahead of time, I'm wondering if I can put you on the spot, Dwayne, for a moment. I thought it could be quite interesting for students to hear, what does a day in your life look like from a CSE perspective?
Yeah, I think some days are death by meetings, and Mark would probably not on that.
I'm not missing some of that, so yeah, strength to you.
Yeah, so yeah, you find days that, I don't know, some days just seem to all the stars align and it's just one meeting after the other, and it's kind of you jumping from one meeting to the next. Also challenging for us is that in my previous institution, we had face-to-face sessions. So my colleagues were literally in the office next door. And we were there every day, basically. So you could literally have a cup of tea and have a chat, where now it's geographically more difficult because we are based predominantly on three campuses or three cities, but some are also in Queensland, etc. So what I try to do is have a regular coffee catch up, a virtual coffee catch up with staff to ensure that we can chat about things that are not necessarily that formal in a catch up meeting. And then, of course, often we're putting out fires. So I report to the head of school in the Australian Graduate School of Policing Studies. And often we find ourselves in crisis management mode. Something comes up and your planning for the day is gone. Because it's giving attention to whatever fire we have to put out. So it's an interesting role. This year, as you maybe know, we're going through an accreditation process. Mark is helping a lot with that because he was in the previous accreditation process, so he's got a lot of institutional knowledge around that. So the LPAB this year is reaccrediting our LLB degree. Um, uh, I'm not worried about that at all. I think we've got everything in hand in terms of what is required of us. Then there's a lot of discussion that you may have picked up in terms of PLT, practical legal training, and the changes that are coming that might affect you. Not sure about the timing, whether you would form part of a new practical legal training in future if you want to go that route of becoming an attorney or a solicitor. So we are quite involved with those discussions with the LPAB, meeting regularly with the judges in terms of what they want, and how, because we basically have two more taskmasters in that space. We have the LPAB, which is predominantly led by judges, and then we have, of course, TEXA, which is an academic accredited body, which looks at that what we're offering is at an academic standard that it should be. So we've got to see that we meet the requirements of the LPAB on the one side and TEXA on the other side. And so it's interesting to see where the thought process of the LPAB is going in terms of practical legal training. And there seems to be a lot of focusing on skill sets of attorneys, and not just communication. We do that already in some of our subjects, specifically the one subject's focused on communication, but also other skills. I called them soft skills the other day and was wrapped over the knuckles by the Associate Dean Academia. It's actually essential skills, apparently. So those essential skills that make us employable. I think for us, we quite in kind of a space of advantage because our students are predominantly mature age students. So all of you are in the workspace, you're picking up those soft skills already, or essential skills already. I was told that someone wrote an email to one of the officers in the court and started with, "Hey, bro." So it's those kind of things that they are saying we need to get out of the profession. And I know our staff, and you'll be aware in your subjects, we do spend a lot of time on that already. So it's just, I think the LPAB, well, it's not only the LPAB, it's a national drive. So it's not just New South Wales, it's the whole country that's talking about this. And so what they're looking at the moment, the kind of suggestion is that we would have a number of skills in the LLB program. So undergrad, you will have skills, the learning of skills, which then can form a foundation for PLT and making sure that there's not repetition in PLT. So there's no because a lot of the criticism currently against PLT is that people are just rehashing what they did in LLB in some instances. So it's kind of ensuring that it's not a repetition of what was done in LLB, but building on that and having a 4-week face-to-face session PLT training. So 4 weeks of face-to-face training, not online, which the suggestion is should be led by practicing attorneys and not early career. So kind of experienced attorneys or solicitors that teach in that program in the practical legal training. After which there would be then admission to practice, but under P plates, if I can call it that. So you won't be driving the car completely alone. There's supervision in terms of your practice then, but also increased number of practical personal development sessions. So I think it's probably doubled. It seems like it's going to be double the normal. So the first 2 years of practice would require more professional development sessions, and they're kind of leaning towards having that in the area that the person is practicing. So if you in the country doing family law, you can do personal development sessions in family law, and not being so restrictive in terms of what knowledge areas need to be covered in the PLT. I know currently, for instance, there's property law is one of them, and what they're saying is not everyone deals with property law. So why are we forcing people to do property law. Let's have development sessions in the area that they practice. So that's kind of all the discussions at the moment, and what's keeping us busy as well is, and there's a new framework for LLB as well coming with that, which is quite advanced in its discussions. So they're aiming, I think, for next year to have a new framework for LLB degrees where they speak about a lot of active learning. So the kind of stuff we do in our tutorials, interactive learning, which they define as active learning. So and they kind of, what I'm picking up is the judges love orals because the kind of wording is that advocacy skills is essential for attorneys. So that kind of oral skills in oral assessment is also very valuable to practice. So yeah, so sorry, I don't know if I took a lot of time there, Haley, but that's kind of the role. And yeah, like I say, it's not often that you're able to plan because the emails come thick and fast, so it's dealing with those as they come in.
No,
Thanks.
that's great. Thanks, Dwayne. So yeah, I think it's probably a lot broader in scope than what many of us expected. Fills your days. So like you're
And
very busy.
when Dwayne gets a spare moment, your research is focused on.
So I'm in the cybercrime organized, well, predominantly organized crime, but in Australia it's gone into the cybercrime a bit more, but predominantly organized crime, financial crime space. Because I was 16 years I spent in a forensic accountancy program, so people thought I was an accountant, and I had to tell them I don't know a debit from a credit. I did the law aspects of the forensic accountancy program, so teaching law to accountants. And teaching them not to write in bullets, but actually write in a narrative style. So it was an interesting walk, and ended up doing some research for the Chief Justice of South Africa when we had the State Capture Commission. So it was an investigation into state capture where there was, I'm not going to go into detail of that, but anyway, so we did some research on combating corruption in South Africa in that space. So that's kind of my space is in financial crime, organized crime, corporate crime space. Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
That's fascinating. Thanks, Mark, too, and Dwayne again. And yeah, really interesting, I think, for students to hear straight from the boss. Okay, so now we might just pause the recording. Sorry, I'm told that I need to